Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals publish to grow their businesses and to leave a legacy. Joining me on this segment is Aaron Smith. He's the founder of Motorphilia, which is an online auto dealership. This is going to be fun. Aaron, welcome to the program.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for doing the spotlight with me. Aaron, tell me a little bit about Motorphilia, just a 10,000 foot view, and the folks that you serve.
Sure. We are we're a car dealership. We run it a different way. We work on an on-demand process. So all of our inventory that we are selling to other people is acquired as we're getting it, and it helps reduce costs. It helps people have better options, and it gives us the ability to put budget in to give people the highest quality product while they don't overpay for anything.
So I noticed that like online auto dealerships is trending. The first time I saw it, I remember thinking to myself, how is that even possible? How could you buy a car without, sight unseen, just seeing pictures on the internet or whatever? And I imagine people have seen, cars on eBay and stuff, but they at least get to go see it or whatever. What is helping out this trend? This is a rising trend now.
Yeah.
How are people experiencing this, and what has the feedback been like?
It's always been good. I mean, I started this up actually. We have the credit of being the very first dealer to actually be online to sell. Never focused on growth. We've always focused on trying to present the highest quality transaction. That's been a big focus of ours. But one of the things that has been found is that people don't really care about the test drive. They test drive, but that's not what sold them on the car. It's usually online reviews, it's magazines, and it's experts on what they have to say about specific cars. If experts say a car is terrible, people will follow that camp. If they say it's fantastic, they follow that camp. You have car manufacturers that completely rely on what Consumer Report says about them. So it really is a very it isn't as tactful of a process people think it is. And I think that people are now are learning. I think are becoming more and more in tune with online purchases. I mean, Amazon's growth is part of that, and you have Carvana and another online car dealer who's growing. And but I mean, this buying a car online is not a new thing. We actually wrote legislation in 2007 to make this happen now, as it was growing with eBay, and it just happened to become what it is today.
So for folks who have been hesitant to buy something online, maybe this is the first time they're seeing it. What are the misconceptions in their minds that it might be holding them back?
Well, I don't think there's very healthy concerns people should have when buying a car online. Misrepresentation is very high, and it's very easy to do. You can find cars that have perfect Carfaxes, and they are absolutely terrible cars, and they've been in horrible accidents. People have a good reason to be concerned, and I think that it is important to finding quality sources to buy those cars from. People who have very high standards. One of the great problems with online car buying right now is you do have people who are just going out and buying lemons because they had the cheapest car online. And we have a shop, and we get a lot of cars that people have bought, like on Car Gurus and stuff like that. And Car Gurus is a really dangerous site because they'll say, "Oh, this is a really good deal," but they don't qualify why the price is so low. A car may have had major structural damage or major engine issues. So quality sources, people who have good information to share, that's an important thing. And I think they need to be able to filter through who has their best interest in mind and who's just trying to turn metal to them.
You mentioned something like Carfax, and then you mentioned the dangers of like not knowing that a car's had extensive damage. I thought those things, like in my mind, is it a common misconception they think that all of those issues are revealed in the Carfax?
See, I think Carfax has done a wonderful job of marketing itself as sort of like a litmus test of good or bad on a car. And that is a tremendously dangerous notion, because Carfax is only as good as information that's reported to it. So like in California, a car could be in a massive accident, torn in half. You can have a perfect Carfax. It depends on regional areas and how they report. Florida, cars can have accidents reported on them, and they weren't even in an accident. It could have been an insurance claim where somebody scraped a bumper. So there's that whole thing of like, am I holding a feather? Am I holding a brick? Well, Carfax doesn't really help determine that, of what the weight of what you're dealing with is. And I think that by selling itself as a true litmus test, it has become a dangerous tool for people It is important. It does help with title histories. If your car has a lemon law, or it has a salvage history, or there are some important elements to it. But for that to be the chrysalis upon where you come out with a better car, that isn't the case.
Online dealerships, now the auto dealerships, this sounds like a very complicated task. Like, how did you get here? What inspired you, and how did you get started?
I got started in this by accident. I was actually going to law school and ran out of money, and I didn't fully understand financial aid and how to apply for that. I was a little silly in those days, so I needed a job, and there was a car dealership in Austin who was offering a sign-on bonus, and I needed to pay rent, so I went to do this, and I quickly hated the business within 2 days of being there. It was just deceit, it was lies, it was tricking people, it was putting people it was forcing people into things that weren't in their best interest. Coming from a background of people who try to operate in people's best interest, I hated this. And I think that's what people hate in the car business, this feeling of this predatory feeling of people, like they would underwrite contracts where like little old ladies were getting like, $4,000 or $5,000 warranties that were completely useless, um, and so I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And this is in 2000, and I was like, what if we? And I was, online stuff is kind of still just kind of growing at that point. I was like, what if there's a way we could create an online model? And I left that. I started working at Dell. Dell has a tremendous online sales reputation at that time. They're doing all their stuff online. They don't really have any retail centers at all. And I was like, we could do this with cars. Cars are kept in holding areas across the United States. They're actually kept in large holding facilities. Up in Chicago, you have an auction right now where there's probably at this exact moment about 12,000 cars just sitting, waiting for distribution. I was like, what if we just use those centers as our distribution points, and we create a method of reconditioning and inspection where they come through, they go through a proper process of renewal, and then they go to an end party. And that's kind of where we came up with this.
Fascinating. So what's the process like for the user? Tell us a little bit about what that looks like when they first log on. What are they going to experience, and how are they going to be assured that they're getting the best information and making an educated decision?
And that's a really good question. One of the most important things is that we change things very differently. We don't just say, blah, here's a bunch of stuff, look at it. It's like walking in, like, I don't know anything about wine. I don't know a darn thing about wine. I'm not a huge wine fan, but every once in a while I need to pick a wine out, and I just grab the bottle that looks the neatest. And I kind of think about that with cars. There's a lot of people, when you go to car lot, you're like, well, there's all this stuff. What's really good? What's not? And so what we decided to do is like, well, let's just get rid of all of this. Let's get rid of all that. When you come to our website, what you do is you go through a matchmaker survey. That matchmaker goes through and asks very critical questions that are important to people and their decisions of buying a cars. What we're more concerned about is your day-to-day living, what you're using this car for, how long you're going to keep it for, really focusing on your budget, how you're going to be handling those things, but focusing on you as the person, and then figuring out what car will work best for you, because not all cars are good for everybody. Not everybody in the world needs a Prius, but a specific person, a Prius would do very well. And not everybody needs a 1-ton dually diesel truck, but for a specific person that would do really well. So it's really trying to hone in on you as a person, what you value, and finding that ideal car to fit those needs.
So what happens if inevitably you did your research, you did everything you can, and then the car is delivered? I imagine it's shipped in, and
Mhm.
it's just not the right fit for them. Then what?
No big deal. We give people full credit back on the car. We'll swap them out to a different car. Not a big deal at all.
So that sounds like you pretty much have peace of mind then. Is there a time frame in which they get to do that?
We try to give people, a reasonable amount of time. There's no set time, but usually if it's like within the week or something like that, we're going to work with you. It becomes like 6 months later, we're still going to work people out in a deal where we're going to give them the top dollar as a trade credit. They're going to lose very little. We're not here to just rip people's heads off with just cutting out all the value of the car. The upside of buying a car from us is we're buying the car and selling the car for close to wholesale value because of the low overhead. So there's not really large depreciation shifts for people. In fact, we have people who quite often trade cars in for more than they paid for them. because they've gone up in value. We had a guy last week who bought a Ford truck from us in April of last year, and we gave him $10,000 more than he paid for it at that time.
Wow, that like never happens.
So what happens
So,
with us?
it,
So it's whatever market value is we stay so true to that.
Aaron, you mentioned like trade-ins, for example. Yeah, a lot of folks do have a car that they need to sell before they get the other one. Do you help them with that as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're a certified dealer. We take in all vehicles just like any other dealership. We have carriers pick them up, drop them off. We have a nice lady who has an old Volvo in Austin right now. We're sending out a van to her. She's got an old Volvo that can barely run. We'll get it on the truck, bring it back, and we gave her top dollar. She wasn't offered much at all by the dealerships in the area. We gave her actually 150% more than they were offering.
Gotcha. So you come and pick up the vehicle, and then you'll have an inspect it, and then give them a quote back for the trade-in.
Uh,
Is that
it's
how it
not
works?
exactly. It's not rocket science with cars. Cars at a certain point becomes just here's kind of what the basic values are based on specific things. Reason why specific cars drop heavily in value is you're taking into account that those things are going to happen. Cars are a lot like clocks that just burn stuff, and they are on timers. So I could tell you with pretty strong accuracy a car to specific age with specific miles. These are the specific set things that are going to happen. If they've been cared for, expect this.
Terrific. Aaron, before I ask you my last question, is there anything that I didn't think of asking? Because I've never experienced or done an interview with an auto online dealership before. Is there a question that I may have not thought of asking that you think I should ask and share?
Um, Gosh, that's a really good question. I mean, there's a lot. I think one of the important things that should be taken consideration with autos is that it's not like just buying a book or a TV. There are so many moving elements to make this work well. Motorphilia has 100% satisfaction rating on Trustpilot in almost every online forum. And one of the reasons why we're much higher rated than other dealers who've sold online is this element that I think people forget is that the transaction process is critical. It's not just acquiring the car, but it's like the titling of the car, the registration of the car, all those elements of the follow up after the point of sale that matter. So it's not so much just looking at a price point and then seeing an element and then getting it. If you go to Amazon, and you're looking to buy you have three of the same things, they're going to be of similar quality. There's not a whole lot of differences in a used book and a new book. I mean, maybe if you're collecting, there's a difference, but they have the same words in them. Pages usually get ripped out. They won't blow up on you, and it won't cost you like $10,000 to fix the book if it can't open properly. So it's taking into account that there's 30,000 moving parts on a car, and dealing with people who know exactly how all those parts come together, and then in the transaction of how to make sure that smoothly gets over to you. So that'll be the big future for cars also. And if you look at a lot of your online car dealers, that's what they're struggling with. Carvana has very low reviews in that area. Vroom, has a 5% customer satisfaction rate right now. And what's killing them is their inability to. Anybody can take a picture of a car, put a number on a car. It's making sure that car has been quality tested, truly quality tested, and then comes to you, and that process is smooth and flawless so that you don't have any problems owning your car in the future.
Absolutely fascinating. Aaron, for our listeners out there, intrigued, now want to try experiencing their first online auto purchase, how do they find you and how do they connect with you?
Real simple. Just go to motorphilia.com. We have a video there to talk about what we do and how we work. And there's a matchmaker. When they're ready, just click on the matchmaker, and we will have someone get in touch with them. It can take a little bit of time. We do try to give everybody very strong personal attention, but once we're done, we'll make sure that they're tremendously happy with their car purchase.
Fantastic. This has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with my audience, and I wish you continued success for you, for Motorphilia, and for all of your clients.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
My pleasure. Aaron Smith, founder of Motorphilia. This segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where business owners, professionals, and entrepreneurs publish to grow their businesses and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for tuning in.